I'm Brianna with IdeateTV, and I'm here with Leah Hollon. Hi, Leah.
Hi, thanks so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for being here. Can you tell us about your books, your creations?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I actually been sitting with a lot of patients over the years, realizing that it wasn't just their trauma that they were dealing with and some of the illnesses that they had. It was actually coming from generations before. And so the science is now catching up with all of that. And actually the book is about how to change and transform the trauma that maybe you have inherited, and that's why you're not getting well.
Wow. And how did you discover this?
Actually, I had a patient that I was sitting with, and she actually had many times having issues with sleep, and it was horrible nightmares. She didn't know what was going on. And sure enough, what happened was she was having the dreams of her father, and they had never talked about it. He was seen, unfortunately, he at that time was seen, he was a scout in the Golan Heights. And what happened is he was seeing a lot of injuries. I guess that's the best way of putting it. And she was having the nightmares of what her father had experienced. And so in that moment, it's like the cold chills factor. And I realized really quickly that it was much bigger than that. And so now the research has caught up, and that's what this book is about. It's not just, I give cases and I give all kinds of different information for folks, but it's really pulling the research together in a way that's tangible for people to heal themselves.
And what would you say, how can they get to that healing? Like, can you give us some examples of some things that you touch on in the book of healing and the process of it?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that people don't realize is that our emotions are chemicals. We can actually track this in research, and it's really through epigenetics. So epigenetics is the science, right, of your genes and the environment and how those can actually be influenced to create either health or disease. And so for many people who have like stage 4 cancer, I see this oftentimes where there's been a trauma after another trauma, or even like certain types of autoimmune disease, or they'll say like, I don't know what's wrong with my family, like nobody responds well to drug therapy, or I'm having a really hard time with the treatment that I'm doing. And so a lot of times it's really those folks that are not maybe responding to typical therapy that we think about. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. That's such a cool science to think of. So you started out your career. Did you ever think that you were going to be writing a book?
No. I'm a doctor by training, and I have my master's in public health. So I always want to educate people. That's what I've always wanted to do. But I never thought that I would write a book. But it came to me that I really needed to. I'm actually from Richmond, Virginia. And if you think about this, it's even bigger than just our research from POWs, our research from even the Holocaust, that we can actually track certain scientific markers in those, but we also realize that as a culture, as an entire country, we have our slave wound. And if this has happened, and we've seen these changes within families of the Holocaust and even with POWs and Khmer Rouge, we have so much healing that can be done within our slave wound as an entire country. So I go into that within chapter 8, and because of being from Richmond, Virginia, I pull a lot of that in of like how we heal our city. So there's a lot of different things for different people in there, and thinking about the healing that happens. I also have an entire chapter that's actually dedicated to that, related to the research for people. So if they are just at home and they're trying to do something for themselves or for their lineage, it's anything from the research that I pull in is anything from dance to poetry to writing, to also even like things like EMDR and counseling. So I give a lot. I want people to be able to heal themselves versus just depending upon someone else.
That is awesome. The fact that your goal is to heal people, and I think that's something that we all need in the world. So that's so amazing, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anything else you'd like to tell our viewers, or anything that I haven't asked?
Well, I just feel so grateful. I feel so grateful to be able to share some cases of my folks that have been with me for so long, that I've been working with, who were told that they were going to be at death's door. I feel so grateful for them allowing me to tell some of their stories. And also I'm so grateful. I've been winning a number of awards for the book, and I just feel so grateful to so many organizations. So I think for the reader, and also for those out there, of like, if you don't know why you're not healing and you've looked at everything else, I just really encourage you to look at this, because you may be like the proxy for your family, and you've been carrying this, and it's actually really sacred work. So thank you so much.
And I have a question of my own.
Yeah.
For the cases that you've seen, Are there times when people whose family might not have shown clear signs of that trauma themselves, but for some reason the child has? Or
Most definitely. So intergenerational and transgenerational trauma. So I have a lot of kids like with autism or ADD, ADHD, and all of those illnesses or conditions are seen as intergenerational and transgenerational trauma. And we do have research to back that up, and including some other conditions like even sudden infant death syndrome, which is really kind of unique to think about, but it's with the serotonin receptors and certain types of trauma that we've seen in their family line. So we see it on the kids. I love working with the kids because they'll tell, sometimes if they're verbal, obviously they can tell you all kinds of things, but a lot of our folks that are nonverbal, we can really see this, and we can go back 3 or 4 generations. And in the science, we believe it's 7 generations. Earthworms, it's 14, but in humans, it's about 7 generations. To think about that, and just to have like a lot of compassion for yourself, if you're dealing with something, but also for your family, and just recognizing that there's so much more potential for your healing. Just knowing that.
really makes you think about your ancestors more too. It's like, you might not have met them, but just how much they're still influencing you.
It's true. And you may not even know your ancestors. Like, you might not know your history of your ancestors. And I think that that's another thing. I work with a lot of folks that are adopted and they don't know their history. And I think that you're right. There's many traditions in the world that they have such a genuine respect for their elders and also, their ancestors. We don't really have that so much in our culture. And I'm hoping that this will help to reframe it. Yes, we all have maybe little baubles in our family, but there is a sacredness, right, in our families of, even if it's a family that was really challenging and you really struggled, there's still a sacredness and healing that can be done. Just, yeah, it's really beautiful.
Thank you so much, Brianna, IdeateTV.